The erector spinae is a deep group of three muscles on the posterior trunk that serve to extend the trunk when they contract. So think of trunk extension as a movement you would do if you were bent over at the navel or the belly button, and that trunk extension would return you from that bent over position to the standing upright position that we think of when we think of anatomical position. Now, there are three muscles within the erector spinae muscle group. They each have individual names and locations on the skeleton, but you don't need to know the individual names of these muscles. Just know the name of the muscle group, which is called the erector spinae muscle group. Turning our attention to the rib cage, is we see a dome-shaped muscle called the diaphragm muscle, and this is found at the base of the rib cage. This muscle actually serves as the border between the thoracic cavity. The thoracic cavity is superior to this muscle, and the abdominal cavity, which is inferior to this muscle. So this muscle serves to increase the volume of the thoracic cavity during inspiration or inhalation. So inspiration is the same term that we use for inhalation when we're drawing breath into our lungs. So when this muscle contracts, it goes from this dome shape to flattening out. And so when it flattens out, what that does is it increases the volume within the thoracic cage. And this increase in volume drops the pressure inside of the chest cavity, and that's really what serves to draw air through the nose and mouth, down the trachea, and into the lungs. And so the diaphragm muscle is a really important muscle for inspiration or inhalation. And we'll see more of the pressure-volume relationship that occurs when this muscle contracts and flattens out when we get to the anatomy and physiology of the respiratory system in A&P2. But this is an important muscle in breathing. The final three muscles of the trunk and brachial region are a group of muscles that belong to the rotator cuff muscle group. And this group is located on the posterior part of the shoulder. So all of these muscles actually attach to the scapula, and they span the shoulder joint to insert onto the humerus. So there are actually four muscles in this particular group, but we're only going to focus on three, and those are the supraspinatus, which is here, the infraspinatus, which is here, and the teres minor, which is this thin strap-like muscle that you see here. So the supraspinatus is named because it's superior to the spine of the scapula. The infraspinatus is named because it is inferior to the spine of the scapula. You can see the spine of the scapula is this ridge of bone right here. And the teres minor is a thin muscle that's inferior to the infraspinatus. So all of these muscles cross the shoulder joint and insert on the humerus. So that is when they contract, the humerus is what's going to be doing the moving. So they act as kind of first and foremost as straps that will stabilize the shoulder joint, and having strong rotator cuff muscles actually prevents shoulder dislocation, because the shoulder is a joint that's fairly easily dislocated. It is a ball and socket joint. It's a very shallow ball and socket joint. And so for that reason, it's actually a fairly easy joint to dislocate. And so having good, strong rotator cuff muscles actually helps to prevent shoulder dislocation. More specifically, though, the supraspinatus can also abduct the arm, so it serves as a synergist to our deltoid muscle. And the infraspinatus and teres minor, because of where they attach to on the humerus, can serve to laterally rotate the humerus, which laterally rotates the arm.